Highly successful individuals are always focused on what's next, but they often don't take time to reflect on their journey and how far they've come. I'm Craig Heatherly, host of the Path Less Travel podcast, where we dive into the journeys of extraordinary leaders. Their success rarely follows a straight path, and that's what makes their story so remarkable. Now let's dive into this week's episode after a brief message from our sponsors. Looking for top talent in tech or professional fields? Avero Talent connects businesses with exceptional candidates, specializing in tailored recruiting solutions that match the right skills to your team's needs. Whether you're building a team or searching for a tough-to-fill position, Avero Talent delivers the expertise you need to hire smarter, faster, and with confidence. Let Avero Talent help you find your next star employee.
At Cressy Leadership, we don't just train leaders, we transform business and change lives. Employees learn to communicate around difficult challenges. Leaders build skills that create a thriving culture. Companies become healthier and more successful. We're Erin Cressy, Mickey Hay, and Anna McEachran, your expert partners, trainers, and coaches. Join the organizations already thriving with Cressy Leadership.
To the Path Less Travel podcast. This week we've got a very special guest with us. We've got Amish Shah, the CEO of Kem Krest, on the show. Amish, thanks for doing this, man.
Craig, thanks for having me, man. I've been excited to get together with you, and I love your podcast, by the way. It's outstanding, and it's an honor to be here.
Well, in preparing for this, I want to try and pull out some new stuff from you. So
Great.
I spent a lot of time prepping here. I'm hoping some new stories, some new thoughts. I doubt it, but we're going to do our best.
All right.
Probably the number one thing that I admire about you, Amish, is every encounter that we have, you're fully present. And I so admire that about you because you clearly know who you are. You know what matters. You know your why. You're planning for the future, reflect on the past. You're just so comfortable in your own skin. Have you always been that way, or has this evolved?
Well, first off, I'll say this, very generous of you to say. Presence, I think as we all know, is kind of a journey, right? We have a lifetime of distractions around us. And no, I've not been that way. It's been something I've had to be really intentional about. I've got 4 kids. I've got a wonderful wife. I have a business. I'm involved in many things in the community. And like most of us, this world of digital is very distracting. And so I'm blessed to have a great coach and a peer group. And it's actually a goal. Like how do we become more present? How do we become not so distracted by everything else that's going on in the world? So it's a journey, it's a battle, it's something you gotta be really thoughtful about all the time. But I appreciate you saying what you did because it's definitely my goal.
How long has it been a goal for you? I mean, did you have people in your life that just allowed you to identify these blind spots that now it's a focus of yours, or? Yeah,
for sure. You know, I've got a teenage daughter. She's 15. I have a 13-year-old son, and I have 2 8-year-olds. And you know what's interesting is that they model your own behaviors. So when you're on your phone and you're telling them not to be digitally connected, it's not really aligned. And so what I've noticed is putting the phone away and it doesn't matter who you're with. You know, oftentimes we're in meetings and we got our phone in our lap and we're texting or doing whatever. People notice that. And I think it took my kids to actually give me the insight that it's like, Dad, we see you texting. And then I'm like, hey, get off your phone, you know, don't do this. And you don't want to do anything, you know, to disappoint your children. So yeah, I'd say the last couple of years, I've been very thoughtful about it. And I have people that I work with that, you know, we go through the Enneagram and we go through all of these things to see what really bothers people. And there's some people that are like, I can't stand it when people, i.e. Amish, have their laptop open and they're doing other things. Right. And in a busy world where you got a lot going on, you think you're getting away with it. But the reality is people notice it. So I've tried to make it a main priority for me to, put it away, be present. And what's amazing is when you're present, you actually get to connect a lot deeper. You're not just in the room, but you're with somebody. You're in their soul a little bit more. So
a big thank you to Senior One Care for sponsoring today's episode. Founded in 2006 by Carl and Kyle Bossing, this family-owned business has provided compassionate in-home care for nearly 2 decades. If my family needed a caregiver, I'd call Kyle. With 6 Indiana locations, they give you the peace of mind while your loved ones receive the care they deserve. Learn more at senioronecare.com.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, thanks for sharing that. Share a little bit about Kem Krest, and we're gonna jump into your leadership background, your growth, your journey. But yeah, share a little bit about Kem Krest.
Man, Kem Krest is awesome. I have been more than blessed. This marks my 29th year of being essentially in the same job with the same email address, same cell phone number. I've got to lead this company. I started in 96. We were a little less than $1 million in revenue. This year we'll mark, probably 650 in revenue. But what we do is more important. We're an organization that gets to optimize the supply chain. And moreover, we have manufacturing companies, distribution companies, fulfillment companies, and assembly companies that are really mostly in the automotive industry, partially in the power sports, heavy duty, so anything that's adjacent to auto, something that moves, that needs replacement parts, chemicals, accessories. Our company does everything from the manufacturing, the procurement, the fulfillment, and we make sure that the world is moving because we have those parts that everybody needs. And so, so we've got 13 facilities around North America. I have an engine assembly plant down in Indianapolis, which is our newest acquisition. I have a kitting facility in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, which handles all Harley. And then I've got manufacturing and chemicals. So we supply 85% of all the packaged chemicals that go into every vehicle make model, from BMW, Audi, Ford, GM, Chrysler, Nissan, Honda, etc. So it's I'd say a cacophony of a symphony of how do we pull all of the 30-some thousand SKUs together and make sure our customers are deliver their product on time all the time.
Has that been the vision from day one, or at what point in your 29 years did you start to really diversify and explore new opportunities?
We started with General Motors, and GM was a magnificent customer of ours. They mentored us, they guided us, they supported us, they helped us out a lot. And they really taught us what I'd say operational excellence means by having demanding expectations. And so when we started with GM, it was just chemicals. So we were the GM chemical supplier. Over time, my vision was what I do is I buy and consolidate the supply chain for chemicals. So I manufacture, I procure, and I said, if I did this for GM, what if I did it for Ford, Chrysler, Nissan, Honda, etc.? I'd buy a lot more. I could consolidate the supply chain. I can reduce my overall price, my cost of materials, and I could provide a great value in the industry. So, I buy better because I buy in greater volume than a GM would alone, or a Ford would alone, or a Chrysler would alone. So the vision was, how do I consolidate the automotive chemical supply chain, build a business out of it? And that was my goal. I just wanted to get to 20 million in sales or 50 million in sales. I remember hitting 100 million. That was like, wow. And then we realized it didn't matter what was in the box or how we did it. It was this procurement capability, a supply chain capability. So we added parts, and we added accessories, and we added kitting and packaging. We started, over the years, added different capabilities, and we bought companies, and, that's where we are today.
I'd like to ask what's next for the company, but you announced it a couple of weeks ago. You've now got a new president. Is it Marty Brown?
Marty Brown.
And
he's amazing.
And it feels like you're like turning the page, or I guess why now? Like what's happening? What's next for the company, and where do you see your role changing?
I said this in my head early in my career, is that I do believe that there can be diminishing returns the longer that you sit in a seat. It's a paradox, because the longer you sit in the seat, you have more experience. You know a little bit more, you've got great connections, But the longer you sit in the seat, you get less excited about certain things because you've been through it a lot. And I always said early on, I said, man, if I'm in the same job doing the same thing in 30 years, it's time. It's time. And so I'm on my 29th year. I started this journey or this process about 4 years ago. It wasn't easy because I'm a hands-on guy. You know, I'm a coach that's on the field. I like to be with everybody. But I realized that, and I'm young, I'm only 51, but I realized that to keep a company, Kem Krest has been around for 45 years. This is our 46th year. To keep this company going for the next 100 years, it's great to have a transition of leadership and authority. And sometimes it's great to hold on to the monkey bars because you love what you do so much and you like everything that comes with the job, the title. But it's better for the organization to bring in new leadership. So Marty is an amazing leader. He's a Hoosier, great values. He believes in where we're going. And so what's next is we're literally taking over the entire supply chain. We have got amazing momentum. We've built world-class operations. I'll tell you, pound for pound, we got the best talent, not only in the industry, I would say across the world. Like our leadership team is so aligned, they're so great. Our senior leadership team, the next tier down, is amazing. We got great people. We built the foundation. I say every day, I want to win the Super Bowl. And to win the Super Bowl is, we all know, you got to have offense, defense, special teams, coaching, all the right back office staff. And we have all of that. So what's next for us is we're going to continue to crush it. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to expand. And with my role, not tethered to the day-to-day operations, I can use 29 years of experience, knowledge, connections, network, and go out into the marketplace and find new ways for us to grow and expand, look for acquisitions, partner with great suppliers, partner with great friends, and see where this takes us.
Well, the title of the podcast is the Path Less Traveled, and gosh, as you guys are over 600 million and approaching a billion with a B as in boy, I can't think of many paths like that. So when you think about the title of the podcast and you think about your journey, kind of what comes to mind?
Well, I think the path less traveled is more around how you get there and what matters the most. And the how we got here, look, I'd love to say I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I'm not. The how we got here was through people. It was through engagement. It was through culture. It was through the understanding that I'm not the smartest guy in the room. So bring on resources and people. You know, it took me a while to learn this, but probably well in my 40s, and now I'm 50, asking for help and finding resources that can augment the things that you don't know. And I think that's the first thing is talent and resources are what get you where you're at. Culture is what keeps you where you're at. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter, you know, how big you get or where you're going. It's all about how you feel while you're doing it. And I've been very proud that we've continued to build a culture that people want to be around, that people want to stay here. It's a family. You know, I'm a private company. We get to build a family within our organization. We don't have to worry about quarterly results or what the market thinks. We only have to worry about ourselves and each other. And I think those are probably the two biggest things that have allowed us to grow, accelerate. And it's been slow. It's also been patience. You know, it's taken us. I know other companies that have gone from zero to, who knows, $1 billion, $2 billion, whatever that might be. It's been 29 years. You know, the first 10 million was hard. Getting to 50 was really hard. Getting to 100 was a success. Getting from 100 to 200 was hard. Like every one of these milestones was a big journey. But that's kind of, I was a mountain climber for years. I love to summit big mountains. And when you summit a big mountain, the first thing you have to learn is you have to acclimatize. You have to get your lungs and body ready for the next phase of the mountain. And in acclimatization, it requires patience. Nobody goes to the top of Everest in one day. because your body can't. You can't take a helicopter up top. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who you think you are. You have to do it in a path that makes sense. And I feel like we have been able to do that. We've been able to be patient, grow smartly, bring everybody along that journey, and frankly, have a lot of fun doing it.
So at what point, you've mentioned team, people, culture, basically using words like we, not me, and I love it. At what point, I mean, was that from day one? Or at what point did you decide for us to really maybe have this hockey stick growth, we've got to start investing in our people? And what did that look like? How did you arrive at that point? Or it's just been a part of you since the existence?
Well, I've been really, really fortunate that my whole backstory, I think I should start with that. And many people have heard this story, but I'm where I am because my father immigrated from India in the 60s. And at 18 years old, he came here as an immigrant, didn't really know the language, didn't have any money, ended up landing in Elkhart, Indiana, and starting a great business. And that in itself was hard. Imagine, an Indian kid coming to Elkhart and finding his way. As he built his business and grew it and expanded and became the largest contract packager of chemicals and liquids in North America, I grew up in that business. And as I grew up in that business, it was my family, and it was his family. He had so much appreciation for the people around him. He had a lot of appreciation for the community. He had a lot of appreciation for Elkhart, the state of Indiana. And when you grow up seeing that it's not about you, it's about the people that got you there, that's all you know. And so I sold my company in 2005 to a big public company. Great company. I would say this, it was a good experience. It was a public company, and quarterly results, very cutthroat, probably a different culture, but they were focused on what they wanted to do, which was make a lot of money. When I got that experience, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the things that mattered. Sometimes people say, it's not about what you do, it's about what you don't do. And I learned they had to do the things that they had to do because it's a public company. Then I realized I wanted to be a private company to control culture, people, community, the things that I can make an impact on. And I think that's it, that I bought the company back in 2008 and had control. And I think I was less motivated by profits than I was by the impact that you have on so many human lives. They can do big things. So, I would say it was a serendipitous upbringing of growing up and knowing it's how you run a business. And when you do things right, profit, growth, success, whatever you want to call it, it comes there because people are programmed to do big things if you engage it.
People are programmed to do big things.
We came from the element of the caveman who had to learn how to start a fire, right? However many thousands of years ago that was. And today, we're sending rovers to the moon. We have the ability. Everybody wants to have the ability to do big things. Everybody does. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your education is. I don't care what your race is. I don't care what any of that is. We are meant to do big things. It's evolution.
So you've talked about your father, and I appreciate you sharing that story. I'm sure we could be here all day with all the lessons that you've learned, things that you've learned from him. Who are some other people that have impacted you to allow you to stay on this journey of staying focused on people, staying focused on doing things right, staying focused on what matters? Who are some people that come to mind?
Oh, man, living in Elkhart, Indiana we call it the RV capital. I would say it differently. It's the people capital. I can go back to my Sunday school teacher, Fullmer. greatest human being in the world. If you go to my other building, there's a conference room with his picture on it, and we've dedicated to him. He put people first, always. And he built a great company and a great legacy. And then you think about, I'm going to name names, but mentors of mine or role models of mine, like Scott Welch of Welch Packaging. Like he's built an incredible company, but he's the first one to raise his hand to help somebody. Or guys like Jason Lippert that has built an incredible company, but he puts people first and culture first. And there's too many people to name, but I think if you want to be in the club of Elkhart, Indiana, you don't just make money. What you do is you impact the community and everybody around you. And so I don't know if it's in the water. I think it's really in the culture of who we are.
When you think about your impact, and you do so much Kem Krest does so much in the community, and I'm sure beyond this community, what are you most proud of when you look at your impact? And it could even be here at Kem Krest as well.
The things that make me proud, it's not my impact, it's the organization. It's everybody that contributes to this. But it's the folks that you meet and you hear their journeys. There's a lot of people that have started here as a first job, and now they're in senior leadership. There's people that have started here that, frankly, never got a college degree. You walk by a young man in the hallway, and he started here at 18, and now he's a GM. It's the stories that we've been able to provide, the environment, the training, the experience, the support, the love, to help people accelerate. And that is generational.
Yeah. Shifting a little bit more towards advice. We just talked about impact. I mean, you talked about the different hurdles of like going from 1 million to 10 million to 50 to 100. There's a lot of businesses out there that are looking to move from 1 to 10, 10 to 50. What advice would you give to those business leaders that are wanting to accelerate growth and do it in the right way? What are maybe a couple of things that come to mind?
So I'm not good at advice because the reality is what we often don't talk about in podcasts and what have you is the hundreds of failures. The skidded knees, the bad decisions, the cool things we're gonna do that's gonna get us there. I've found this is that every time I get excited and I put together a quote unquote get rich quick scheme, it's not meant for that, but it's more like this is gonna do it. They burn. They just go down in flames. I think business is hard, but it's easier than many of us think about. But it's also requires intentionality. It requires focus, a strategy, a little bit of investment in things that we believe in. And it doesn't mean you overinvest because we think we're going to get there tomorrow. No football games that take you to the championship are generally won with a Hail Mary. Every now and again, somebody gets lucky. We think that's the way to go. That's a luck. That's a fluke, right? That's a once a year.
They don't draw that play up every
ESPN highlight of the year, right? The one Hail Mary. Business is built on a series of decisions that take time. And I think that's, my experience share. I won't ever give advice. My experience share is you got to stick in the game for a while. You got to understand that you're going to make decisions, and some are good and some are bad. You learn from the bad, double down maybe on the good, but know that this is a journey. It's a long way to get there. And I think people get upset when they hit their first, roadblock. My dad always told me, for the first 10, maybe 12 years of my career, we were on this upward trajectory. I had not felt any pain. It was just like, go, 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 everything. I'm winning. I'm like 20-0, right? And my dad always told me, he's like, Business is like a minefield. The longer you go, the more likely you are to hit a mine. And you're going to hit one. You're going to have to know how to respond. And when you respond, you can't be emotional. You can't freak out. This is business. There shouldn't be emotions in business. All you have to do is navigate. And those that are the best at navigating are the ones that make it to whatever their finish line might be.
So what's a landmine that comes to mind for you?
Oh, where do you want to start? I mean, it could be everything from you lose a customer, a big customer, to you have banking issues, to you have supply chain challenges. There's hundreds of them in my world. People, right? We lived through COVID. That was a world of landmines. Business is complicated and it's not linear. And it depending on your business, it depending on what you do. The landmines are anything that could kind of set you back a little bit. And those setbacks hurt. And the bigger the setback, the more the hurt. But the bigger the setback, the more opportunity there is for learning. Why did that happen? What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? How do I recalibrate? Mm-hmm. You know, we didn't get to the moon, you know, with our first rocket, right? There were many things that exploded on the way.
Right.
And you learn from that. You recalibrate your systems to be able to get there. And I think that's it's patience. It's believing in what you want to do and being so focused on getting there that it doesn't matter the landmines that you hit. It's okay, I'm gonna learn from this. I'm gonna make this next tweak, and now it's gonna be a little better.
The intentionality, that's something I want to dig into a little bit. What are some areas in your life that you are super intentional with, that you'd be willing to share with others to consider in their life, whether it be a morning routine or a relationship in your personal life or things here with employees?
So I'll say this. I wish I was better disciplined, but my life and surroundings don't allow it all the time. In the areas that I am intentional, I do better. So I'll share, like my personal goals reflect around a statement that says, I am at my best when. And I've listed them. I'm at my best, number one, when I'm connected to my wife, when I'm present with my kids, when I am making great health decisions, when I am making an impact on my business and community. So, and I rate those every week in a journal. I look at them. I do. And my last is, and I am experiencing mind-blowing experiences because I like to do fun shit and stuff. And I rate them. And 1 to 5 every week. And there's no such thing as work-life balance. I mean, work-life balance is over a long period of time. Like the scale isn't perfect. But when I'm out of balance, I realize, hey, I've been spending more time with work. Or sometimes I'm spending a lot of time with my kids. I gotta get back to work. Or I've done a lot of stuff, but I haven't had like that mind-blowing, I haven't gone somewhere cool or done something fun. And I think that, to me, like the journaling weekly to self-reflect has been, in people like journals, like what's that all about? It's just a time to sit and think. Make time for yourself. We give time to people, we give time to our families, we give all this time to our business. Give yourself, an hour a week, 30 minutes a week, just to reflect on how you're doing. I think that's one of the big things. I have a weekly meeting with my wife. We meet usually Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays, but for an hour and a half in the morning. And it's that time, and we have a regimented agenda, as I shared with you earlier. We talk about our goals, we talk about our kids, we talk about where we are, what makes us happy, what doesn't. We talk about scheduling and logistics, and we talk about things that we want to do. We talk about budget, and more of it is it's a way to connect.
Yeah.
And date nights, super important. Being able to, depending on your schedule in life, but at least every other week, have intentionality around spending time with your spouse uninterrupted. We are starting, this is new, We're starting to move to a digital free zone. After a time at night, we're going to say 6:30, in our devices, my phone, all these things are put away. And we're going to try it out because we want to role model a little bit of digital detox for our kids. Mm-hmm. And we're starting to, and what we're thinking about is taking Sunday and making Sunday kind of the day of Sabbath, meaning don't be overscheduled. We're just going to wake up, go to church, hang out, and maybe go to the gym, but have a full day of family. So this is new. We haven't executed on this yet. This is all part of our 2025 priorities. But I think the problem is that we live in such a busy world, and we go. Travel, sports, right? Work, travel, life, hanging out, doing all these things. We do it, and I think that me with 4 kids, our kids feel it more than we think. And I'm wired. I could go 24/7 all the time. I need a nap about every 3 months. Doesn't mean that everybody can do that. And I'm starting to realize that. Like, again, have a teenage daughter. She will tell you exactly what she can or can't do. And so I would say that fundamentally, like, I learned so much from her because she's my litmus test, what she can or can't do. And I really reflect like, she's not wrong. So she's forced me to have more intentionality because when she's litmus test. When she's out of balance, it usually means the family's out of balance. When she's happy and in balance, that means we're doing things right.
I've got a couple final questions for you before we wrap up. Who's somebody that you can reflect on that, and maybe not the individual, but what they said that just spoke truth into your life, hit you between the eyes, and it created this trajectory of whatever the area in your life for growth. Anything come to mind with somebody speaking life into you? Any words that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll go to 2 people. I'll go to one, my Sunday school teacher, Craig Fullmer. He's an amazing role model for me. He passed away soon after my 40th birthday. And I respect the hell out of him because I moved back to Elkhart after college, and he told me, he said, look, any fool can make money, but to make an impact is really what leadership's about. And he's the one that encouraged me to spend and focus more time on community and getting involved, because he's right. We can have a job, we can be successful, we can do things, but if you're not sharing your treasures and your time, what are you doing it all for? And not only sharing, but how much you learn and gain by being involved. You get to meet some amazing people by being embedded in the community. You get to meet people you never would have met before. You get to meet passionate people that want to do great things. You get to meet people that inspire you. And I appreciated that. That was great words of wisdom for me. You know, the second guy we both know, Rudy Yakym. Rudy, our friend, how we got connected. I always loved Rudy because Rudy was always out doing things for people all the time. And Rudy always said, I got to build bridges. I got to build bridges that I don't need. And by way of building those bridges that he didn't need, what he's doing is creating connections with all sorts of people. And I respect that. I appreciate that. And I've followed in what he's saying is just build these bridges, build these connections, do things for others. You don't need anything in return. We're not coin operated. We should just do this because of generosity and because of it's the right thing to do. And yeah, I think those are 2 people that stand out the most.
Last question before I get your final thoughts. What's one of the most worthwhile investments that you've made in your, or just made, time, money, energy, effort?
Wow. I would say probably 12 plus 15 years ago, I started investing my time in mentoring and helping high school students with entrepreneurship. It started with the Elkhart Chamber of Commerce, and we had the Young Entrepreneurs Academy, the EA program. I was actually a teacher in that. Years later, I got to follow these kids' journeys and see where they're at now. And so many of them have just done big things in life, or big things for them, right? Just for them. And I connect with them, and I'm like, wow. And I see them, or I see their parents at the grocery store, and sometimes they stop and hug me. They're like, oh my God, you're my kid's teacher. And because of that program, this is what they're doing. And today it's the Startup Moxie program of Elkhart County. And it's the same thing. It's like I always see these kids on day one, and they're like a deer in headlights. They're like, what did I sign up for? Why did my parents make me do this or whatever? And I watch them at graduation, these poised, mature, articulate young adults that are ready to take on the world. And we have a class of anywhere between, call it 20 some kids a year. And these 20 young kids a year, they're the next version of you or I. They're going to go out and do big things. And so from an investment standpoint, you can invest in Bitcoin, or you can invest in Tesla stock, or you can invest in whatever. But investing in these, young future leaders, that's dividends beyond repayment.
That's special. Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thanks for doing this. Amish, what final thoughts do you have that you want to communicate about leadership, maybe speaking to a young leader, or just anything about Kem? The floor is yours, man. Wrap us up here.
Well, that's an open topic. I don't know, man. I reflect a lot. I think a lot. I think this is what I'll say. We live in a very interesting world, and some might say we live in a crazy world. We're living in this time of change and what have you. And I would change the narrative. I would tell you, by data, we are living in the time of Renaissance. When you look back at the Renaissance, which was started in Italy, right? And you saw what was going on, the invention, the innovation, the arts, the sciences. They did a lot of things, but in the last 50 years, what we've done in this country, from technology, educational advancements, we've started a new currency, Bitcoin. Like, the things that we're doing are phenomenal. The problem is that oftentimes, because of social media or because of the news or whatever, we think life is tough. It's hard. It's not great. I call BS. I think we are living in the best time this world's ever seen. When you focus on the negative, you become negative. When you look at the facts and data and see how great humanity is today, you can't even, it's amazing. It's amazing, and it gets better and better and better every day. It gets better every day. I live a good life. I have a great family. My friends live a good life. We are in America, we are in a great position. So I would say focus on the greatness, and your life would be a lot more enjoyable. It's easy because there's so many data points that tell us how bad things are. But I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all.
I spend time each morning in some time of gratitude. And it's that I can walk, that I can eat, that I can breathe on my own, that I have a home, I have a family. And it's amazing of what you're saying. I mean, when you start to look at the things that we have, you start looking at life through a different lens. So I thank you for sharing that. Well, and thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
My goodness.
Anything for you, brother.
Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Pathless Travel Podcast with guest Amish Shah, the CEO of Kem Krest. Until next week, have a great day.